So welcome to the C Note Show, everybody. Our theme of this week is get more kisses, hugs, affection, and sex.
I'ma tell you about a woman whose heart is sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'ma tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra, with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares and it's love.
Because who doesn't want more of those things? I mean, I see Jason on here. Jason and I can give each other kisses, hugs, affection, and sex, but it's not quite the same, right, Jason? Yeah, that's right, Jeff. It's not quite the same. Yeah, exactly. It's like, God damn it. Stop talking about me. So you can call in every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Mountain. I'm Jeff Allen. I'm a professional coach, and so is my co-host, Miss Cynthia Cruz. We were in business separately when we met about 4 years ago, and we've joined forces now, and she's beautiful and talented and happens to be my fiance.
I really, truly thank you for allowing me space in this inner sanctum.
All the men on here have said that they love how we have different points of view. We have the male coach point of view and the female coach point of view. I'm going to put you on the spot. What's been your favorite part of working with me to shepherd these men toward this work thus far?
There is so much magic I feel in the polarity of masculine and feminine energy. And in my own life, it's been men around me who've been in their masculine that have helped me move forward most in the ways that I want in relationship.
I so agree. Absolutely. Whether it's from you, Cynthia, or other supportive women in your life. I was talking to a gentleman, a client of mine, Pat, yesterday, and he said it would be so nice to have a surrogate female friend that I can just talk to. And I said, there's this thing called, what the hell is it called? Bumble and online dating. I mean, I don't know. I don't use online dating, obviously, but you could grab a friend on there. There's lots of women that just want to chat you the hell up and text back and forth. So don't think that that's just for dating. You can find women that want to chat you up on there. That was one guerrilla tactic that I suggested. We're here for your daily playbook, and men are generally, a lot of times, and this is how I found this work, men in relationship hell get both a man and a woman's perspective so that he can stop lighting his balls on fire every 5 minutes like Chevy Chase is going to do here in our clip for today. Here we go.
You know that metal plate in my head?
How can I forget?
I had to have it replaced because every time Catherine revved up the microwave, I'd piss my pants and forget who I was for a half hour or so. So over at the VA, they had to replace it with a plastic one, and it ain't as strong. So I don't know if I ought to go sailing down no hill with nothing between the ground and my brain but a piece of government plastic.
Do you really think it matters, Eddie?
Well, you see, the plate runs right underneath my part here. And over here, it's, nothing. But here, if this gets dented, then my hair just ain't gonna look right.
I know the feeling. Well, I better try this first, see how it works.
Well, you be careful there, Clark.
Nothing to worry about, Eddie. Going for a new amateur recreational saucer sled land speed record, Clark W. Griswold Jr. Remember, don't try this at home, kids. I am a professional.
Later, dudes. Let her rip. Hang 10.
Right, that's it. No, not.
Chevy Chase is my idol. I love it. So there was a couple of metaphors that poked themselves out when I was watching this again. One is we don't know what the reaction's going to be when we try something new. Okay, so he's putting oil or grease. I don't recall what he said he was putting on the bottom of the disc. and he shot ahead like a lightning bolt. So that was a surprise to him. And one thing that we need to be aware of is, when are we surprised in relationship? When are we surprised and maybe go to our shitty behaviors of, like, me would be to have anger or frustration and not be aware of it. That's kind of my, like I call the Hulk who's in my boardroom when I go do the boardroom exercise that we talk about. Some people it's going to be freeze and then just placate. Some people it's going to be run away and shove it down and never talk about it again. So or even sometimes when things are going really well and the pendulum swings, the surprise of the pendulum swing in the moment can cause a man to be triggered. Got a guy like that out of Utah that I speak with, who he's great, and then when it's kind of in the middle, and then when things go well, if something happens, he gets this huge trigger back the other way, and it can be kind of a shit show. So he's aware of that, and aware of when he's not feeling good in his body. Where do you not feel well? When you're you're about to be triggered, or when you're feeling really kind of maybe almost close to mania, maybe. It's like going so well, and Ian's out there bike riding and it's going so well, and he hits a rock and tumbles over himself. Maybe he wasn't ready for that. I just threw that in Ian. Like, I'm sure you never crash. Ian's just like perfect. Never look at him smile. Yeah, he's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. And speaking of smiling, that had to be Kent is Chevy Chase's favorite movie star, I think, because he didn't stop laughing and smiling that entire clip. Well, so Cynthia, I want to ask you, and then I want to go right into a question from our forum. I want to ask you, let's be vulnerable, right? So my kind of shitty behavior that I go to is the Hulk. And that doesn't mean that I blow up every day, but I have to be aware that when I get tension in the back of my head, that generally means that I'm about to have, not a calibrated response. This means, you're about to react to something and need to go ahead and take a break or breathe deep into your belly. So Cynthia, what would you say is your not so great response to things when maybe you're not having a great day or things aren't going the way that you would have planned? Go ahead and share that with us.
I have to smile broadly and chuckle on the inside, because it's the kind of behavior that I then coach women through. Sometimes the things that we know the best is how we can really assist and guide others. I would say I do have a pretty strong freeze response, and uh, I can collapse in on myself, and I can observe that happening and go, oh, here is this pattern again, and I'm being really hard on myself. Um, it's also really helpful to be in relationship where I've noticed, oh, when I collapse or kind of put up a wall, that this does not lead to the kind of passion and connection that I'm looking for. So it's an incredible mirror to be with you as a partner who, even when that happens, is inviting me back open to share and express the emotions and thoughts that I was having.
So I want to ask you about when I do that with you. And first, I want to say, gentlemen, if you raise your hand, I will ask you to go ahead and contribute a little bit with your point of view. Maybe your woman has a freeze response like Cynthia's talking about. So the freeze response, it kind of looks like either, and I've told this to Cynthia, we're coaches, so we share our own shit. This is different than therapy, where a therapist is very clinical, doesn't show their own stuff. Cynthia and I have over a decade of training in many forms of therapy, but we're coaches, is the point. And so we share some of our own things. So I can't tell if she's thinking. I can't tell if she's confused. I can't tell if she's overwhelmed. It kind of looks like all the same thing when her face looks sort of frozen. Right? So Cynthia, how do you appreciate when I approach you about that? What do you find to be the most connecting for us? And also, so there's me, there's you, and there's the relationship. Right? So what's the most connecting for us within the relationship? And what do you feel is sort of helping lead you emotionally forward and out of that stuck place?
Well, we talked this week a lot about the nonverbal communication, and I think first, you're continuing to see me with high regard, and compassion. And I also really appreciate like that very small, like physical touch in that we are still in partnership, even if that part of me has emerged. Uh, I sometimes don't have the perfect words or the logical way to explain what hit me because it probably hit me on so many different layers and I'm having so many different emotions at once, like sadness, anger, frustration with myself, um, thinking in the back of my head, oh, come on, you got to move through this. And so I can't always explain exactly, but you inviting, hey, is now a time you'd like to talk about this? Or, hey, why don't you share with me what's going on later today or maybe tomorrow over coffee? That's really helpful that I don't have to necessarily answer in the moment if I'm still processing the ocean that's inside of me at that moment.
Mm. I love what you said that I'm considering us still in relationship and I have compassion for what you're going through. Jonathan raised his hand. I want to call on him here. I unmuted you, Jonathan. Go for it. What do you want to add?
Yeah, so I had to learn the same thing. So one of my shitty behaviors is that I tend to push. Um, I like answers and I like them now. Part of that was because I like to fix everything, and some things can't be fixed in the moment. So I had to learn to really, kind of take a back seat and then invite her to a conversation at a later time when she had a chance to process it. Kind of had something like that this morning. We were sitting in bed, and she was talking about some text messages she sent to a friend, and she wanted me to read them. And I was like, I'm not really interested in going through your phone, but if you like to cliff note it, absolutely. I mean, go ahead. And so she
Okay,
started talking
hold
about.
on a second. Hold on a second. So she asked to connect with you. It was a bid in some capacity, right? And you said if you cliffs note it for me, yeah.
Well, I don't want to go through her phone, the text messages.
Sure.
She said there's just a whole lot to read, and her phone is her personal space. I mean, I appreciate the fact that, like, I understand the fact she opened up to me. That was a big thing. She's handing me her personal space. Like, I get it, but um, and we have kids and busy schedules. So I mean, that wasn't really a good moment, but we ended up talking about it. She opened up about a whole bunch of hurt and emotions she had from previous stuff in our relationship, and I was weird for the first time in my life to just be able to hold space and let that hurricane go on around me. And I didn't need to fix it. I didn't need to get defensive. Just sitting in that moment and validating that her feelings are real, and even though they weren't my fault and there was nothing I could do about it, just being there to validate that, and it actually turned out to be a really good time.
I love it,
It's a
John. That's
good
fantastic.
conversation.
Yeah, not trying to fix it, validate her. I was giving you a hard time because you didn't share what you said emotionally to her, right? And I was just thinking, like, yeah, that's nice, sweetie. Can you put in Cliff's notes for me, and I'll look at it later? But
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that's not what you said. So bridge the gap there. There was a gap from, hey, look at my phone, to we had a great conversation where she opened up to me. What are we missing in there? Share the missing piece.
Oh yeah. So she was talking about you can look through my phone if you want. I don't really want to explain it to you because I can't explain it. She's like, it's really long and it's going to take you a while to read it. And I was like, we were getting ready for a morning walk, and it was just not the right time to have to go through this reading and asking questions. And so we kind of had to cliff note it. Probably wasn't. I accepted the bid, but I had to shorten the bid a little bit. I'd be glad to talk about it, but we don't have time to read all of this. So if you can cliff note it,
So
and
when did the connecting part of the conversation happen, when she opened up to you?
literally, like, as soon as she started opening up, as soon as I said the cliff note thing, I mean, she was obviously a little bit upset because didn't want to read through it, which I understand, but we just didn't have the time. But then she opened up the floodgates, and as soon as right after I said that.
Awesome. So what I'm going to read between the lines, John, and that you've done work. A lot of men know your story, some don't. A year ago, not good. Right now, really good. That's the Cliff's notes for you, John. I'm not just joking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so a woman who is upset with you is not going to blossom like that right in front of you spontaneously. So what that tells me is that you've done tremendous work in helping her feel safe and understood. She respected and was present for what you said, and then she spontaneously shared with you what she was hoping to basically get from that interaction. It sounds like, is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's funny because I posted about it on the round table because I love those little moments. For me, I realized that I was uncomfortable with raw emotion for a long time. I didn't know how to handle it. I couldn't handle my own emotion, let alone, you start spewing emotion at me, and I was like, oh no, I got to fix it or I got to get away from it. But yeah, just it was an amazing milestone for me just to realize I sat in that space and just let it flow. I actually talked about I saw the flower and I wanted to dance with it. It's just funny you said blossom. Like I saw the flower inside the opening up, and I was like, reached in for that rather than everything else that was spewing around it.
I love it. Oh, so phenomenal. Yeah, what you said of you were able to hold that tension and allow that sort of pregnant pause, that tension in the air to sit there without trying to fix. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so good. Thanks, John. I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna say that there is at least one man on here that has a man crush on John because of his amazing story and how you share John and the journey that you've been through. So there's more than one man that have already said to me, I love having John on and him sharing his story. So thanks for that, John. Appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Welcome anytime. So Jason in the chat, and I'd love for Cynthia's feedback on this. We're gonna bounce around, guys. Right. So Jason in the chat says she freezes. I touch, and she reels as if in pain. What next, Cynthia? What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's um so first, this is not an indication of um like mist. I mean, my sense is this is not an indication of mistrust with you, Jason. This is probably, and you're probably very aware of this, something from that freeze comes from a much younger place, how she used to freeze as a little girl. And I, I even experienced this again, early in my relationship with Jeff, where obviously, trust him, but I had frozen in a place where I was being really, really hard on myself, and I felt like I needed to kind of go into a little cave. And w- so that, like, when you touch and she reels, it's kind of like reaching into that cave, or kind of like a little bear is curled up inside. So with that case, I would really focus on the nonverbal holding in high regard. And when the freeze is over, asking verbally, what were you feeling in that place? What Ask her, like, what does her cave look like? And uh, asking her what she thinks would unfreeze her in the moment, because it may not be touch. She may say, hey, I would just love a glass of water. She may say, just if you could just say, hey, I love you, and walk away for a moment. um, it would be, I'm sure it would be powerful, whatever she came up with as her way to move forward.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, Cynthia, to your point, again, as John had said too, you don't have to fix it in the moment. In fact, trying to fix it in the moment is probably not a good idea. Uh, Jason gave a thumbs up and said, thank you. From my point of view, I would also say that that gives you information as far as where she is in this moment on the staircase of intimacy. And if she's jumping back, then she's not ready for, like Cynthia talked about, physical attention, which is okay. It doesn't need to be anything personal. Now, what you don't need to do as a man, and I'm speaking to myself and you who's watching this and every man on here, is that you don't need to jump back so far that you tumble down the stairs in this metaphor. Okay, it's just taking a half step back, as Steve Forson would say. It's taking a step back, one step back off down the staircase. And let me circle that and segue into our tools for today and a question. So I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to put this out there for Cynthia to respond to, and I'm going to share some tools that we're talking about, exactly how to dance up the staircase of intimacy, exactly how to get more hugs, kisses, sex, and affection. So here's a question from the forum. How can I hold a positive regard for my wife when her lack of trust in me feels like a gash in the heart? My core value is trust and being trustworthy. I've done nothing that would make her not trust me. Well, first of all, I doubt that's true. Okay. In your opinion, that's your perception, but I incredibly doubt that's true. Otherwise, she would trust you. And we'll talk more about that as we go forward. This is certainly the hard part to understand. She trusts me to get up every day and provide the sole financial security for the family. She trusts me in being an understanding and caring father for our children, of which she often expresses. She trusts me to come to the aid of friends and family, just recently committed to helping her sister out financially with breast cancer treatments. She trusts that I'm looking into the future to navigate the course to guide our children to adulthood and our eventual retirement. And even though not asked, she knows without a doubt that I'd give my life for her and the kids. My bewilderment is, how much trust does it take? And I'm going to jump up to our tool. It's so we're talking about, I believe this gentleman, we're talking about different things here as far as how much trust does it take. She's probably saying, as was our theme last week, I don't trust you enough to have sex with you yet. That's the words that she's saying. Okay? Those are the words that she's saying because that's the best way she has to describe it. However, okay, well, what do we do about it? Without trying to psychoanalyze and everybody go to therapy for 2 years and, trying to get her to go to therapy and fix her own trauma and all this, trying to get her to do her stuff. What do we do with ourselves? And what do we do in relationship to lead emotionally? And that's what our tool is today. That's what coaching is. It's acknowledging those things which are very true and real and painful. And what do we do about it? How do we move forward from here and get what we want? So how do I become the man that brings this out in my relationship where I get more hugs, kisses, sex, and affection? We've talked about these things here, so I won't go over this part too much here. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the awareness in your body when you get triggered. Okay? So you understand what's going on with you, not just her, but you and you in the relationship. And then what's effective? Easy is not what we are looking for here, guys. It's effective. And you have to believe that you can change the feelings that she has for you. Okay? You want to be Fonzie and not go into fight or flight mode. And this is what we're starting to talk about. So Cynthia and I are developing this week a free audio ebook that we're going to record. And there'll be a PDF component to that as well. It's going to be a small ebook with an audio component that will read a lot of it. So you can listen to it anytime. You can hear Cynthia's voice and my voice and or read as well. And so here are the first 3 steps of the staircase of intimacy that we're developing and we've been working on through this week live with you guys and also ourselves on the side for basically years, and we're putting it together now. So the first step, as Cynthia said, is nonverbal. She wants to feel seen. This is the holding high positive regard for her, unconditional positive regard if we can in that moment. I have men ask, how could I possibly do that with what's happened? With, like I experienced where my previous relationship, who I'm no longer with, my ex, my son's mom, she cheated. She had an emotional affair in 2007 and then a physical affair in 2015. And I mean, what went through my head, guys, was, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. And so I felt like kind of an idiot and oh my God. And I still made the mistakes of being the blubbering, nice guy. It's all my fault. What could I do? I'm the bad guy. Oh my God, everything's my fault. When that, of course, wasn't true. I didn't know these skills like you all are learning right now. These are skills that you learn in relationship of how to uphold boundaries, how to stand up for yourself in a healthy way, and how to move forward if someone's breaking your non-negotiable boundaries and values. And that's what we're talking about in this question. His value is to be a trustworthy man, but she doesn't seem to trust him, so he's super confused, right? So the first level is nonverbal. The second level is what can I say? And the third level is what can I do? And we've got notes here. I'd love to get your feedback, and I'll have Cynthia answer this gentleman's question here in a moment. So as we go forward here, gentlemen, so verbal are sensual words, and we started to bring out some sensual words to actually show you guys, right? These are words you can use within a sentence or within conversation with her when it's not about pragmatics. It's not about the kids right at that moment. Okay, there's words like adventure and closeness and mystery and excitement. And when I get goosebumps, when the wind hits my face, it felt like this. And there's hope in the world when I see this out in the world and when I look at our children. Talk about the feeling states that you feel throughout the day. It was It was so exciting on on my drive to work this morning. This giant truck with the balls hanging down cut me off, right? How exciting was my morning when after that ensued. And then there was a police chase then. But you can share with her an exciting moment of your day, and that's a way to increase sensuality within your conversation from step zeros, from step one, step two. If you're in a place right now where you're separated or things are not going well, you're in relationship hell, as I said at the beginning of this call, we're starting on step one. So, Cynthia, I'll bring up that question again, and in the context of what he can non-verbally do with his wife, as far as high regard, holding compassion, and still considering them in relationship, and what he can do verbally to start dancing up the staircase of intimacy with her. I'll bring that question back. How can I hold positive regard for her when her lack of trust in me feels like a gash in the heart? What would you say to that?
Well, I can certainly resonate with that feeling of, I would imagine every man here, and I feel this too, that really values trust and really values honesty and being a solid, incredible, caring, always wanting the best for others. So to have someone look at us and say that they don't trust us is that feeling. The the way to move into the nonverbal holding compassion and high regard for the other person is is coming to a place where we trust ourselves, even if the other person is reacting in a non-connected way or they react strongly to what we say. It doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong. um, so it's that's a way to kind of calm that that pain response, and to also recognize, I started this morning talking about the masculine and feminine polarity. We are we are never going to be exactly the same, and the masculine energy is always going to come across, um, in a way where the feminine gets offended or angry, and there's always going to be times that the feminine comes across that seems really disrespectful. um, and recognizing that we will never be in perfect harmony in that way. We'll always be speaking kind of different languages, and that's okay. It's okay for things to come up, and it's okay to, like, oh, why did this person do this? So I think that, like, self forgiveness and not holding us up to be this perfect master, um, and that, just because another person's acting a different way, it means that we've done anything wrong. I think that's a huge step in being able to hold that nonverbal space.
Beautiful. Yeah. Her reactions don't mean that we did necessarily anything wrong. Right? In Good Guys to Great Men, another forum that I support with Steve Horseman, he calls it the thermometer. And so she's up here, and there's a gauge at whether mommy's sad or mad or whether mommy's happy, right? And we say mommy on purpose because there's a connection, there's a pipe right down to your gauge. If mommy's not happy, nobody's happy. I just had a client of mine say that a few days ago. It's like, we need to throw that vernacular away. We need to get some giant bolt cutters and cut that bolt that's between how she's feeling and us immediately feeling exactly how she's presenting. That's not attractive to her. She doesn't want to be your mommy. She doesn't want another little boy. She wants a man who's independent of her and can have a great day and be compassionate, even if she's not having a great day. To either model that for yourself, for the kids, for your community, for your job, or for her to help maybe bring her up, right? So you're going to model that compassion, but you're going to allow her to have her emotions. So Kent, yeah, you raised your hand. Go ahead and jump in, please. I'll unmute you. Go
Oh
for it.
yeah, it's funny. You're kind of taking the words right out of my mouth. Just kind of little side note here, kind of in my personal situation, but you know, I'm not on step one. I'm not even close. I think that baby gate's still shut, and
I
you
love it.
know, we so I'm trying to figure out, in a current situation, living for 4 months separated in the same house, there still has to be civil conversations that's happened. And the thing that's kind of gotten me um, over a hump is obviously taking time for myself, but also being unapologetic for what I want and what I expect, and not not being a jerk about it, but it's more of the mindset of, make a decision and stop asking her if that's okay. And I've seen a difference in myself, and I've also seen a difference in her reaction to it as well. So it's been a huge eye opener even in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say your demeanor today is very different than it was a week ago when you were on the show and you spoke on the show and saying, "I need to stand up for what I want." Is it fair to say that a week ago you maybe weren't sure what you want and now you have more knowledge in that area?
I don't know if it's, if I truly know what I want yet, but I'm also kind of getting over some hurdles of, asking her to stop asking me what's wrong. It's, and why am I upset and things like that. It's like, I'm not afraid to tell her that I'm hurt and that she has hurt me, and kind of taking those steps forward for myself and not being apologetic for it. And it's just letting her know the truth, saying it with a civil tone, and trying to move forward for both of us.
Beautiful. Yeah, Cynthia, give us feedback on the way Kent's energy is right now, the way he's being as a man right now. Give us some feedback on that.
Oh, wow. I I feel your solidness in such a big way. And I think I shared with you before that feeling of wanting to like, follow along with you wherever you are headed, and it made me feel solid in my own body. And I really appreciate I'm very grateful for the energy that you share, because it's calming and alive, and I'm excited to hear what you're going to say next.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Cynthia, did you see what Jonathan put in the chat over there about being a hairy woman or a man with boobs?
Oh yeah, I love that. uh, Jonathan, I see you're referencing the Queen's Code. Alison Armstrong has the most amazing way of describing how we can see our partner through a lens, and women all the time, and I even catch myself doing this because it's like this is the language I know. Looking Can fall into the trap of thinking that men are just like women. They're just a hairier version of them. So as Jonathan said, it's either the hairy woman or the man with boobs. And I I think too, um, and I can feel the pain of this on the other side. If a man's looking at me through the lens that I am like a man and am in more masculine energy, I'm just uh, overly emotional or not responsible with my emotions. That's a really tough other end of the lens to be on. So I think when we just call out those two elephants in the room, that this is like our path to learn and grow and learn each other's language in, it gives us something to anchor these very natural human things that men and women have been doing for centuries. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
definitely agree.
Go ahead, Jonathan. Oh yeah,
Oh,
good.
say I definitely agree because I have the lens of, sometimes I look at my wife and I'm like, Jesus, why can't you just be a little less emotional about this? It's not that big of a deal. But I'm like,
yeah.
all right, she's not she's expressing something right now. I just need to let her, give her the space to express that, and then it's over. Everything is good. Life goes back to beautiful. Nobody needed to take it personal. Nobody needed to get worked up about it. She's just venting that emotion at the time, and it's a right now situation.
So John, let me exaggerate for a second. It took you like only a week of doing this work, right? It was like a
Yeah.
week. You read 3 chapters of one book and fucking magically everything was fixed, right?
Yep. That's exactly all it took.
Yeah. Share for 10 seconds how your journey of what it's been like for you.
Oh man, that's been crazy. So I had followed Steve for a while before the roundtable thing even showed up, and so it was I poor Steve. I'm so glad he put up with me, but I would be emailing back and forth, and he's like, I can't coach you for free over email, and so I think I was part of the reason the roundtable came about. Um, so I ended up joining the roundtable, and I met a great group of guys and started working with them. A lot of it was inner inner perspective work. As soon as I started working, when I forgot everything she was doing, I put everything on the table, how she was treating me, what she was doing, how she was acting. You know, she was acting like a single woman. She was going out doing, you know, going to bars, going hanging out with her friends. As soon as I put all that away and completely pushed her out of what she was doing out of my life and started focusing on me and my internal stuff and what the wounds I carried from childhood were, started building my own self confidence because a lot of the problems, you know, I used to be a drug addict in the past, so a lot of the problems come from self. Like there was something wrong with how I felt about me, which in turn translate, you know, that puts a lens over your face of how you see everything in the world. If you don't feel good about you, you don't feel good about anything externally. Once I started working on that, everything shifted. I mean, me and my wife did end up, you know, almost we were almost a divorce. Like papers were ready to be signed, everything was ready to go, and we ended up working it out. And that was one of the things she said to me. You were the man that I wanted even before we got married. Now
Oh
today,
my gosh. Yeah, Jonathan, I love you, man. I met this guy in person, Jonathan, in Idaho with Steve Wincoop last September in person. And by the way, guys, I'm happy to talk about. So I'm an affiliate and I work professionally shoulder to shoulder with Steve Horseman, Good Guys to Great Men. The roundtable that Jonathan's talking about is a paid monthly closed group. It's a group membership to a closed group. And Steve and Dan, his partner, his business partner, do 2 calls a month, live calls, and there's support in the forums, you know, and things like this. So it's a little different than what we're doing here and within our forum, but it's another amazing way to learn if you learn through group calls and the forum, and you know, depending on what kind of time and money investment you want to do. I'd be happy to, guys, point you into. So Steve Horseman, if you search YouTube, Steve Horseman, Horsmon, and he actually has horses and his name is Horseman, and his company is Good Guys, Two Great Men, the number two. He has 5 years, 6 years of videos on there. And he is my coach from when I ran into this 5 years ago, when I was awakening from this 5 years ago. Even though I was a teacher, even though I was in mental health and working with children with emotional disabilities and families with disabilities and all kinds of gang kids, bipolar kids hearing voices, I was the one in the school that handled all the most difficult kids, the ones that would like literally attack teachers. Okay. That's what I did in the school system. And I could tell more of my story another time. But yeah, so I've been coaching men professionally for about 3 years. And that was because of, like Jonathan, this has helped so much. And I was so called to this work. Right. So I'm an open book if you guys want to know about those things. We launched the C Note show less than 2 weeks ago, and our forum has over 90 men already. I'm super pumped about it, guys. So I'm happy to share that. So, and Jonathan, thank you for being so vulnerable and telling us about your story. I appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely.
So let me share another question from the forum. I pulled this up and I'll have Cynthia jump in. So this is from Roger, who is a bit infamous on our call-in show here. He's not on today that I see, unless I missed him. He calls in from different areas. He's got the background like Jonathan's going on, except he calls from different areas of the world. I think North Korea was my favorite so far. But Roger's question from the forum. So we were eating dinner. My wife hands me her glass to refill with water, and she's tending to the baby. So of course I'm going to refill it. I make the crack, pussy whipped without the pussy. I guess so Roger's hilarious, dude. So I guess he's saying whipped. He made a joke. I'm whipped. She laughs and says, "Yep, I'm making you work for it." I'm not sure. Oh, he actually said pussy whipped without the pussy. Okay, that's okay, good for him. Yeah, making you work for it. So she's in full mommy mode and he's bantering and saying the word pussy, which is definitely verbal connection, right? So he's not on step 1 or step 2. He's throwing out a joke and she laughs about it. I didn't take offense. I'm going to talk with Roger about this. Well, no shit, you don't take offense. She's joking with you, right? So I'm going to give Roger a hard time about that. Rather, I take I take it as a playful parry and a hopeful sign. Thoughts? Well, yeah, it's a pretty good sign to me. Whoops, and now she's bitchy again. What do I do? So she's tending to a baby, so she's been pregnant rather recently, and she's fluctuating emotions. I'm just shocked as a woman would go through that. So Cynthia, what's your thoughts on his joke, her response, and then oops, now and he, using the word bitchy again. Give us some feedback from a feminine point of view and from your coach point of view about that scenario.
Sure. Well, it's pretty amazing that he could, again, call out the elephant in the room, call out the fact that, you know, his wife was in mommy mode, call out the fact that they, haven't been sleeping together, having sex for as much as would be kind of in a balanced relationship. And he did it in a way where it wasn't like blaming or shaming her, right? Or judging her. But he was in his masculine, like, I'm not just gonna ignore this or collapse in myself. And I'm gonna put this out here on the table and kind of step back a little bit and let's see what happens with this. And I feel in him that was a very loving thing to do. That was, I feel, in the woman's perspective, I would trust him doing that, because again, he's not stuffing down and ruminating and thinking. He's actually, with great courage and great balls, saying, hey, this is going on, and you know we're still working on this, and this is still part of my vision for something for different with us. And I think that goes back to what you were asking, Jeff, about what specifically a man can say to a woman when she's frozen, blocked. There's giving space. There's the not trying to fix, but there's also, hey, I I notice that you seem really overwhelmed right now or sad. Um, I'd love to hear more about what's going on. Let's check in about this tomorrow, or when you feel better, or when you're ready. So it's owning it and then giving forward vision for it.
Oh yeah, owning it and then making a plan and forward vision. Let's jump back to our tool. And Cynthia, go ahead and take a look at the chat. Ian posted about asking a question about step one. It looks like he's maybe asking Kent, so I'd love to bring that up. Let me share this again. You said, I notice. Some other great ones are, it seems like, or it feels like, and then leading into what you see. Like, make a guess about her emotional state. So I noticed that you're sad and you're looking down, and I'm wondering what's up, what's going on right now. Share that with me. Or it seems like you're really sad right now, and then shut up. Right? I'm gonna put that in there. Then shut up, not shut up, shut up. Or it feels like, then shut up. That's huge. Yeah, it doesn't need to be, you're not trying to talk her into anything. You're not trying to Casanova talk your way out of something that you've behaved your way into. Okay, you can't do that. You have to behave your way out of something you behaved your way into, with the way you're being and the nonverbal you're holding in your mind of positive regard for her in that moment. Maybe that's for 5 seconds or 10 seconds if that's all you can hold right now, and that's fine. Having compassion for where she's coming from. Right? Using these sensual words to dance up to level 2 or step 2 on the staircase. And part of that may be asking her to talk with you. It seems like you're not feeling very good right now. Tell me about that.
I'd also love to add, like, anytime that you use the word feeling or I would love, you're activating the feminine and the emotional, more of the grounded feminine in your partner, because you're inviting her into her world where it is first, finally, always driven by emotion. And I would imagine maybe some men are thinking in their head right now, yeah, I do that. And I say, hey, it seems like you're angry right now. And that, like, makes her even more furious, like, because it's like a vulnerable, like, oh, he sees me even in this place, and now I'm going to explode more. Again, it's like trusting ourselves that just because someone reacted in a less than favorable way does not mean that it was wrong. And Jeff, I love what you said about when we're practicing new things, it's like doing it 30 times and then seeing the results you're getting, not just one or two and then she reacted poorly, so this must mean that I did something that wasn't good.
Yeah, thank you for that setup there. So definitely, let me jump back to the screen. In our free audio that we're going to be releasing here soon. And this is basically the beta version of it as we work it out here live with you guys, is you got to try these things 20 times before you even blink, right? And maybe even try step 1 20 times where it's nonverbal and you're looking at her in a loving way for 5 seconds when she doesn't even notice, or maybe across the kitchen for 10 seconds. Right? You're not doing it to try to get her to notice. And so, oh, it looks, see, she can tell I'm doing my work because mommy saw me and is going to give me brownie points. You're doing this because that's the man that you want to be. You want to be a man that's calm, solid, confident, grounded, and knows how to be attractive. Okay. It doesn't happen in 3 chapters. It doesn't happen in 1 week. Like I was giving Jonathan, I was being facetious with Jonathan. It takes practice. So don't even blink until you try this 20 different times, most likely on 20 different days. Okay, guys? You're not going to try to shove 5 things all together. Don't stack. That's another tool. Don't stack negative things in the same moment, and don't stack positive things in the same moment either. Try one, be centered in yourself, feel how it feels in your body, okay? And then walk away. Maybe think about that or journal about that, write down how it goes. So that's going to be something within our free audio ebook that we're going to release. So Cynthia, let me jump to another question down here. And please, again, post a question in the chat or raise your hand in Zoom, and we would love to call on you for your feedback or your question. So here's another question from the forum. Where I struggle is how or why to unconditionally love her when she continues her avoiding and runaway behavior. I know, it is unconditional love. It's in the name. Okay, right? Oh, he knows. But why would I continue to unconditionally love her when she clearly exhibits none of that love to me? Why waste that energy on someone who is rejecting me? Cynthia, what do you think? Why should he continue to what he's calling unconditionally love, which I would ask him what that means? What does it mean to him to unconditionally love? Because that may be different than what I'm considering or what you're considering. But what would you say to him? Why should he continue to unconditionally love her when she clearly exhibits? I'll say, why continue to do acts of love with her? Because love is a verb. So why would I continue to do acts of love with her when she clearly exhibits none of that love with me, to me, for me? Why waste energy on someone who's rejecting me? What do you think, Cynthia?
I have to admit that I absolutely believe in the power of love, but I also believe in there being conditions. Like when we invite someone into our lives to be a partner, there are boundaries that we have. And so to put pressure or the expectation that we are supposed to unconditionally love and never get angry or never think, this is not working, or this person, we've all had that thought, this person, they're just not a good person. That's okay, and it's human because we have expectations around partnership, and we have wants and desires, and those should never be stuffed down. So to answer, like in that moment, if someone's not giving us love in return, I think there is a regard and an act of love that we can give another that is for the relationship space between us. So it's not necessarily like, I'm going to do this to make this other person feel loved. It's like, I'm going to put this kindness and compassion and vision into the space between us. And if that other person can't receive it or can't respond, this relationship space, you might end up wanting to take that in another direction towards someone who can. And then the flip side of that is every judgment that we have for our partner and every way that they are not showing up in our conditions, it only hurts and gets us so bad because there's a little bit of a flickering in ourselves, a place in us that we don't love. And this is an invitation to really go, oh, this is a mirror back to me. Why does this hit so hard? Has this happened in other relationships, or is this something that I do in relationship to myself or others? So it's a huge opportunity to love this part of us. And that doesn't get affected by how someone is treating us or not treating us.
Oh my gosh. Our own love for ourselves isn't affected by how someone else is treating us, even though it seems that way in the moment. Certainly, yeah, Cynthia.
Yeah, and oh, so I'm sure everyone's perfect with that all the time.
Right, right. We're completely robots, but affectionate and loving when we need to be. Right. That's what we're going for. That's what we're going for, right, guys? Is like Android who can just fake it real good. No, definitely not. I love how you said I believe in the power of love, and I actually just grabbed. It's Huey Lewis, right? Who sang that? Yeah, I just grabbed that. So we'll close the show with Huey Lewis and the power of love here in a few minutes when we get to 12 o'clock here, Mountain. Yes, go ahead, please.
The gift of love too is something that we don't necessarily always have to practice with our partner. If it's like Spears, the experience of it, we can practice with other people. I enjoy when I go through the checkout line, if the woman checking me out and saying, oh my gosh, I love, I love your shirt. That's beautiful. And I found myself yesterday at Sprouts saying to a woman, oh my gosh, your mask is beautiful. And I never thought that I
Yeah,
used to
when would
put
we
that in
ever
my
think her to say
mouth,
that?
but it made her day, and that was me, with love, and she was able to reciprocate. So that was a wonderful relationship experience to have.
So incredible. So incredible. Well, gentlemen, go ahead and raise your hand. We have 3 minutes left on our show today. Jonathan says, boom. I mean, what Cynthia said there, watch that segment that Cynthia just talked about over and over. And I'll put on the screen here our tool that we're using again. So you can screenshot this if you haven't yet. And we're going to be developing this the rest of the week as well. We have some other curriculum that's lower down here that we'll talk about, and then we'll get into physicality. And I'm wondering how many men are watching this, or you right now are wondering, he didn't really give me the dark secret to getting sex and kisses in 5 minutes from my woman who hates me right now. And that's right. That's not what we're about. We're not here to bullshit you. This is real life. We have families. A lot of us have children. There's a lot of stuff going on. We have marriages that we can't just like, oh, she's not treating me well, I'm going to walk away and never look back. That's not what this is about, right? And we're also not about how to put some kind of like fulcrum leverage and get this power over her. It's how do we bring out those feelings within her? You can bring out those feelings where she wants to swoon with you and she wants you to be the man and advance with her and lead emotionally in the relationship. And that's what we're building here. That's what we're building over this entire week. Phenomenal. Yeah, Dan says, good call, real and raw conversations. That's one commitment that we have, right, Cynthia?
I love that because I have never read a book that gave me the 3 steps to the kind of deep, intimate, passionate relationship that I wanted. It was a whole bunch of different experiences. It was creating vision. It was tapping into deepest desires. It was learning about myself, learning about masculine energy. And that is not something that you can put easily in a Ziploc bag. I also think that every person here is an incredibly in tune man, and a word or phrase we might offer you, you then get to take in your own knowing, in your own toolbox, and make it your own. And that's where the true power comes from.
Thank you guys. It's been the C Note Show brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains. Right? Our website is greatmenmovemountains.com. You can go to /C Note to post a question if you don't want to bring it up here live, or you can connect with us directly off of our website, greatmenmovemountains.com, to connect one-on-one, ask about coaching, ask about our group coaching, or just ask a question, right? Like, we field emails all the time. We chat with men, and our first consult call is never a charge. If you are curious about what we can do for you or how to help you through this, we're here for you, right? That's our heart. This is heart in business, heart in business. And our heart is to give this away and give a first call away if that would help you, or help respond over an email if you have a question. So we're here for you guys. Phenomenal.
Not, not that my word's like super important, but I highly recommend coaching, because that's one of the big things that I did that I think really kind of sealed the deal. I mean, I was already getting there, but when I went through an intensive coaching program too, that was just like, that was the icing.
Oh, Jonathan, thank you so much. That was really kind of you to say. That's awesome. I always wonder, like, oh my God, people are saying good things about me. Maybe I should just accept that, right? John, I appreciate it so much. Thank you very much.
It's easy to give love. It's hard to accept it.
Yeah, that's true for me a lot of the time. That's exactly true. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Cynthia, yeah, say goodbye to our man.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you share and all that you do. I have much gratitude and deep appreciation. So thank you.